do? What it is, your house girl by Pop, aka Soda Baby, aka Asuka, and you're now tuned in to Soda Talks TV. So, our next relationship topic we're going to be talking about is embracing our pain to understand human nature. And if you see my juice stain on my shirt, sorry, I was drinking a Monster so I could stay awake for this next video. So, when we become emotional, our rational mind shuts off and our reptilian brain turns on, and we're acting through our reactions. You know, we become a slave to our minds, and whatever is in our mind causes us to react to that. And when you learn how to control your emotions and your mind, and when you build that presence with yourself, like being present, it can help you, it can give you the confidence to do a lot of bullshit. Like embracing the pain of letting go, you know, breaking up with someone. And it's not because you know what's going to happen after you walk away from this person, but it's because that you understand that you can handle the pain of walking away from this person, and you understand that you are equipped enough to take on the challenges and the stresses that happens after you walk away from this person. And when you face challenges, winning doesn't always mean being triumphant. Sometimes winning means facing the pain and certain things until dawn comes up, until another day comes. And yes, it sucks in the moment, but understanding that concept does not come in an intellectual way. You have to really understand it through going through raw pain in its unfiltered form. And sometimes raw pain is just as painful as letting go of pleasurable things. And there's no other way around it, you know, because we want to eliminate the bad, but sometimes the good is the bad, and your source of comfort becomes your source of pain, and your source of pain becomes your source of happiness. Like, for instance, like in relationships, when certain things happen and it's like, are you really going to throw away all of this after you've made this commitment? You know, sometimes it's really not worth throwing everything away depending on what you have, you know, with whoever you're with. And that's something I myself am still trying to learn and master, because at the end of the day, people claim that they want these committed relationships, but they do it for the wrong reasons. You know, I feel like it should be about the future, your future, aka the kids, you know. And unfortunately, it really makes me sad that nowadays they're really trying to promote like this baby daddy and baby mama culture, like it's just okay. Because it seems like everyone has just, you know, accepted just to not have structure. And just because everyone else is like that, don't mean you got to be like that. And just because everybody else gave up doesn't mean you need to give up. Because guess what? You'll see the opposite example of people who know how to, you know, balance each other in having those structures. And that's why a lot of people are unhappy, because there is a cost in not understanding human nature. And that cost is being blindsided by people's manipulations, you know, because we've been lied to, and the world told us that, you know, everybody is good, everyone is trustworthy, you know, people are following the rules, but they're really not, you know. And that you should give your last of the nothing that you have to someone. And that's called being a good person. And yet you feel lied to, played, used, cheated on, because there's a war going on. You know, I'm only laughing because it's so fucking true. Like, you have to be aware of human nature. And that's the only way you can protect yourself. And when you're not aware of human nature, it hurts even more because you don't see it coming. It's really a war going on, a war for power. And who can get the most without doing the least. And it's just that when you don't understand that there's a war going on, it leads you to make irrational decisions, because of the biases that we tell about each other in our heads. And to be honest, we're more alike than we think. And it's just the fact that if you don't accept yourself, it's hard to accept other people. And in the book of The Laws of Human Nature, which is the book I'm pretty much covering as I'm talking to you guys, one of the laws is to not take things personal. Because even if it hurts you, don't take things personal. Because when it comes to dealing with other people, nobody's thinking about you. They're only thinking about themselves. And it's just the fact that you don't take first impressions seriously, because it takes months to know somebody. And let me give an example, like especially in dating. Dating is a very dark game. And it's like I met somebody and I felt, because we had certain conversations, and it's just like, and then so he felt that I was like more of a spiritual kind of person, because we really got into depth in that. And he felt the need to pray on his food in public. We're at the dinner table, he grabbing my hand, praying. I'm like, okay. And then we met again, and then we prayed over the food. Okay. And then the third time, when we ate again together, I realized that he didn't grab my hand to pray. And I just kept it to myself. I'm like, sometimes you don't need to put people on blast. Just take note and keep that mental check. And it's like, look at this motherfucker. Like, what was all of that for? People are always acting. And sometimes you don't have to call out people. Just keep it to yourself so you understand this about people. And in understanding human nature, you're able to adjust your friendship styles and your parental styles and your relationship styles based on that person. Because when you neglect knowing human nature, sometimes you don't get what you want, because people are self-interested creatures. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just something to be aware of. And you don't get what you want because you're doing things the wrong way, because you're only going off of your own emotions. And this is why you need to be aware of people's nonverbals, the emotions that they can't control. You do things wrong when you're only going off of your own emotions. And that's why you don't get what you want, because you need to be aware that people wear social masks to hide what they're really feeling inside. And those masks have cracks in them. And that's the nonverbal communication. And it's just the fact that you need to be aware of that and be able to take yourself out of yourself and see what it's like to be them. And the nonverbals are the emotions that we can't control. And the thing is that we're always getting the signs of the nonverbals. It's just that we're not trained to pay attention to that. And it's because people are so self-absorbed in their own heads of how they think of themselves. And it's just the fact that we're trained to be more intellectual and not really feel things. And sometimes trying to understand people with your rational mind doesn't always work, because people are always sending you fake signals with their fake smiles. They're always sending mixed signals. So this is why it's very important to pick up and understand the nonverbals of people visually, not with what they say, with what they show you. Body language, voice inflation, and facial expression is what we had before we had language. So you have to learn how to quiet your mind and let go of assumptions and attune yourself to people's moods and mirror their body language to understand what it feels like to be them. And in mirroring them, you kind of get a glimpse of what's going on in their head just by looking at those three things, because none of that has to do with verbals, where this is all nonverbal. So the most important thing is noticing the difference between how people feel right now versus how they feel on a consistent basis, so you can know the difference. And it's also about getting comfortable with opening yourself visually so you can really feel how people register you and take you in. And when you're able to open up your senses visually and you're not afraid of eye contact, you will open yourself to a whole new world of communication. And that part of us has been cut off because we're always thinking about ourselves. And we need to create a mental space for observing, because 65% of communication is nonverbal, and we're only taking in 5% of that. And because of that, we're missing out on really useful clues that people are dropping when we're not paying attention to their body language, their facial expressions, and their voice inflation. For an example, polite words with hostile attitude, like, can you close the door? Thanks. That was like an evil thank you. And you have to understand that you have your thinking mind and your body mind. And your body mind is always picking up on how people feel. They say the gut has a brain. And if you don't pay attention to how you feel and really process it, you can stunt your growth in that. And that's almost the closest to mind reading that we get when we're paying attention with our eyes to how we're registering things. And you have to know how to read people, because people are always acting. And it's just that we're different when we're alone versus when we're with our friends and in public. Because when your friends come around and say, hey, the party's on, what's wrong? What's going on? Because the camera's on, and we're different in different situations, and we mistake that for who people really are. We act confident in public and everything's okay, but really deep down inside, we all have the same insecurities. It's just that we all have to act in order to keep society together, especially when it comes to marriage relationships. And, we fall in love with the outward appearance until we finally get to know someone and realize that we all have the same imperfections, and because of that, we fall out of love. So play your role to the fullest to fully gain power, because this is why you can't keep it too real, because really good actors, they know how to move in social webs with ease to little friction. And it's just the fact that nobody really loves you for you. Everyone's always judging by outward appearance. And you can't get really far if you're always keeping it real, because you're going to stir up things and you're going to offend people. So this is why you have to understand that sometimes that mask is helpful. And when it comes to seeing through people's masks, you have to know how to see through your own mask. Notice when you're acting, because most likely the things that we do, other people do too. And it's just that you have to be aware of when you act differently around different people, because it reveals the way you judge people. So notice your incongruencies and have mindfulness with it. Notice how you feel when you're being rejected, and notice how you change around people. And it's just the facts that we have to accept about social norms, because we all have to act, especially in men and women relationships. And especially if you want to move up the ladder in certain social areas. And yeah, that's all I have for today on The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. Just my observations, just my interpretations of it. So make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, keep running numbers up, and we're going to talk some more. All right. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Black Pop, it's Black Pop, and at Soda Talks TV. I'm a little loopy, I'm a little sleepy, and it's your girl Black Pop, and I'm out.